So here I'm going to do a video. This is what's going on out in California. This is the fires. This is the aftermath from the PG&E, which is owned by whom? The Rothschilds. Rothschilds are blue bloods. They're related to Lucifer because they're the direct descendants of Lucifer, the fallen one. So I'm just going to play this town hall meeting, and the message is, sorry, you are screwed. So I'm just going to play it for you. And have a good one.
Paradise City Council meeting that was absolutely jam-packed. I wish I had known this was going on. I would have loved to have talked to some of these people here who have vast knowledge about what went down, their personal experiences, and what happened. Here they are looking in the windows from the outside where the city council will likely, they hope, be determining their future and allowing them to return to the property to start rebuilding. And as you will hear here, they're not in control. They're not in control at all. It's all the federal government that's dictating what they're doing by...
Did you hear that? They're not in control. So who's in control? Top of the pyramid, right? I'm telling you the truth, man. I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But, you know, you want to just, you know, keep on going down this road, people. I'm telling you what's at the top of the fucking pyramid.
Promising vast amounts of money, supports, and resources, or they get no funding at all. People are being told they're not allowed even to put an RV, recreational vehicle, on their land to stay there because of the toxicity of the soil, and we've seen the same thing happen.
Now, where have we seen this before? You're not allowed to return. That was a movie, Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind or Third Kind, where they tried to scare every man, woman, and child with the poison in the air. And guess what it was behind door number 1? The aliens, right? The Greys and the reptilians. Go watch Close Encounters. Just skip to the part where the lead character goes, there's nothing wrong with the air.
In the Carr fires in Redding and the Santa Rosa fires as well. But look at how many people are here trying to learn the fate of their lives, and also to try and get some answers, while the city council is talking about ordinances which have very little to no power over state, federal, and international laws, yet they think that's their only recourse rather than self-organizing themselves. But we need to find out more about what really went down. We're after almost 3 months after the event had happened. And there's a recording I'm breaking down. Somebody posted on Facebook about this meeting. I'll be breaking down further, but let's listen to them talk a little bit about how they won't be able to rebuild, how FEMA is in control, and how the city council has no power whatsoever over FEMA or any of these state agencies that have come and descended on Paradise. Nor is there any conversation about all the clear cutting or the staging of PG&E or the staging of FEMA days and weeks before the event happened there. So let's take a listen.
Away from your ash pile. That is safer than what is going on with people actually living in standing structures right next to an ash pile. Can someone please answer that question for us? Thank you.
The question you're asking is one that you can go ahead and sit down.
Well, do I get to respond? My 2 minutes weren't up.
Sure.
Thank you.
The question you're asking is one that we asked, that our attorneys asked. I mean, FEMA's attorneys got involved in this. The county council, the town's attorney, they all tried to negotiate this. We asked the same question you're asking. It doesn't make sense. People have acreage, they can be far away, you've got houses. We don't get to make the rules. We didn't get anywhere. The answer from FEMA is you cannot let people stay in RVs on their parcel unless it's been cleaned, no matter how big it is. And yes, you can let people who have standing houses go back and live in them. I can't explain their rationale. It makes no sense to me. It's just the answer.
So you, as a representative of us, the people, need to find those answers before you guys make this decision, please. Thank you.
They're finding out the same exact things that we found out here in Santa Rosa with the cleanup that started afterwards. And what I didn't record, but what was stated that I heard, was that 1.5 or $1.7 billion in funding was being withheld from the people of Paradise for the cleanup by by FEMA unless they agreed to FEMA's terms, which we're going to get into in a little bit. FEMA has a 50-acre encampment next to the Chico Airport, was set up before the Paradise fires. PG&E down the road from Paradise on Skyway has a massive operation that was set up before the Paradise fires occurred on that fateful day, November 8th. So what is going on with the cleanup process? Why are the people pissed? One, because they're not allowed to get back into their homes, but also they're being strong-armed that they can't go move back in or start any of the rebuilding process because they're being told that it has toxicity, which they're going to find out more about, but also that FEMA is directing the terms of how local city council operates, and their hands are being held literally to the fire. But at the Paradise meetings, the ordinances and whatnot doesn't make any difference. It's all about the money and all about the connections. So here, California's cleanup of the Camp Fire, the largest post-disaster project of its kind in state history. An engineering firm with a subsidiary unit was caught falsifying soil tests during the cleanup of a former shipyard in San Francisco, as was awarded one of the first contracts for the Camp Fire project. Then Trump tweeted a threat this week that he may withhold federal emergency funds to California, which are expected to cover 75% of the cleanup cost. So far, only about a third of eligible burned-out property owners in the hills around Paradise have agreed to be part of the government-run cleanup, federal government, prompting concerned Butte County leaders to schedule a press conference urging residents to sign up before a looming end of the January deadline. So this is why they're strong-arming, and you just heard the inept, disgraced city council there of Paradise saying, it's out of our hands, we can't do anything about it, some leaders. 3.5 billion operation will be by far the most extensive post-disaster cleanup the city's had to deal with. Tetra Tech, the firm hired by state officials to test potentially contaminated soil, is parent company to Tetra Tech EC, which has been sued by the U.S. Department of Justice for faking soil samples during the cleanup project. 2 company supervisors pleaded guilty last year and were sentenced to prison. Now, we'll get back to Tetra Tech in a minute, but here's the articles from California from the Santa Rosa fires that occurred back in October 8th of 2017. U.S. EPA to oversee the rebuilding. 100,000 acres have been burned, and so the EPA is taking over the cleanup. So you can see.
Okay, so if it's toxic, how come this guy's not wearing a mask and all this stuff? I mean, I don't know who he is, but, it's all just like bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Here in these articles, the Fountain Grove residents, which is up here in the Tubbs fire in Santa Rosa, are royally upset because as the cleanup got underway in October, 2 weeks after the fire, property owners had groused about the requirement stipulated in the contract they had to sign to participate in the government-funded program that they would allow foundations to be removed. Very frustrating, said Todd Wright. They promised us full removal. That's what some people got, but not others. And it goes on that they just delayed it, and then as the $1.3 billion government-sponsored debris removal is nearing completion, Sonoma County, which bore the brunt, including 800.
This whole thing is being set up for the Asian market, for the Asians to come in. California's debt. China has the debt. So they're kicking people out.
182 home sites were finding, that the cleanup began in November with high anxiety of a requirement that the property owners participating in the government-funded cleanup agree to turn over any portion of their insurance earmarked for debris removal. Gore was highly critical of the contract dispute between 2 of the private companies hired by the Army Corps of Engineers, Ashbright Inc. of Florida and Burlingame-based EEC, that delayed the removal. So they were awarded federal contracts. The people had no say. They were strong-armed. Deborah Tavares and myself went to the Veterans Administration Hall when they were strong-arming everybody to sign over their insurance to FEMA, and then FEMA negotiates with the agencies, and the people are screwed because 97% of them finding out they don't have enough insurance to rebuild. So we look at who the players are in this, and this is what I've been getting into, and I want to keep hounding. Here right 2 days after the fires began in Santa Rosa, October 8th and 9th, Rebuild North Bay founder Darius Anderson was in Washington, D.C. Anderson posted on Facebook that he was in the Capitol advocating with caring elected officials and concerned business leaders to help the fire survivors of 2017. Who is Darius Anderson? He's owner of the Sonoma Media Group, owner of the Press Democrat newspaper. He's also a PG&E lobbyist, and he's the one that tapped James Lee Witt, the former buddy of Clinton FEMA director, to come in and take over the Rebuild North Bay project. A newspaper guy, a lobbyist for PG&E, hires the FEMA guy. Anderson's trip came on the heels of news that Rebuild North Bay had partnered with disaster recovery agent Ash Britt to donate almost $500,000. Ash Britt has been go-to company for FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers since Hurricane Katrina in 2005. One leading candidate out of the gate is James Lee Witt, who Anderson previously tapped for his nonprofit. Witt remains a disaster capitalist power broker in his own right. He's the former head of FEMA, so-called friend of Bill Clinton. As the Bohemian reported, he's also the head of several disaster service companies, for-profit, including, if you look up C-Corp, publicly traded company C-Corp, and O'Brien Witt under the subcategory, you'll see that he makes money on disasters. They filed in 2017 for the fourth quarter, they made some $15 million in disaster recovery from Hurricane Harvey. They're profiteers coming in, hired by a newspaper reporter and a PG lobbyist. He's also, and private equity funds devoted to attractive investments in large infrastructure projects. Yes, he has the E5, E6 visa programs as private corporations that bring in Indians and Chinese managers to come in and take over jobs from people in the United States to rebuild. He profits from the disasters, disaster capitalism. Ash Britt was created by well-connected Republicans in the 1990s in an effort spearheaded by former Republican Chairman Haley Barbour. And then we go over to here to understand a little bit better. Ash Britt, a Florida-based firm, has close ties with Florida Governor and presidential brother Jeb Bush.
Bushy.
Ash Britt's CEO is a major donor to state and federal GOP candidates. James Lee Witt Associates is Louisiana's disaster consultant. Americold Logistics of Atlanta retained Witt's former prior to the hurricane, which paid $40,000 in fees. And here's the article in the Bohemian local paper, local rag here. James Lee Witt, the Bill Clinton era FEMA. He headed FEMA in the 1990s, but more recently founded a corporation called EB5 Global Management LLC, capitalizing on U.S. law that grants fast-track permanent residence to status to foreign nationals in exchange for large investments in American development projects. He has offices in D.C., Little Rock, Arkansas, and was registered in Delaware in August of 2015. According to his website, the EB5 Global Management sets out to form, fund, and manage special purpose limited partnerships to loan money to companies, creating jobs in the United States. We align the capital requirements of domestic developers and entrepreneurs with the immigration goals of our EB5 investors. That's you, dude. EB5 visas are granted to foreigners who make investments of at least $500,000 in areas with high unemployment or $1 million elsewhere, in exchange to guarantee 10 full-time jobs for every $1 million invested. Since its inception, the program has been used to finance hotels, retail space, Las Vegas casinos, and also $6 billion in Treasure Island development project now underway in San Francisco was undertaken with EB5 loans provided to the Lennar Corporation, the nation's second largest home builder. And then you got Darius Anderson, who I was just talking about here, prominent Sacramento lobbyist. They don't talk about the PG&E lobbyist he is, but he's a lobbyist with the state of California, stash in casinos in Las Vegas. He also lobbies for Tesla, General Motors, Canacraft, and Robertson's Ready Mix Concrete. Hey, do you think they make any